Welcome and thank you for joining astropsych. Today is April 1st, 2026. It is 9:38 a.m. I am hailing out of the Blue Ridge Mountain area of Virginia, and at this moment we have the moon at 5 degrees 44 minutes in Libra, heading towards our full moon this evening that will occur Eastern Standard Time in my area here, and that will be at 10:12 p.m. This is Lynchburg, Virginia exact, when this moon will be hitting us in the Eastern Standard Time zone. The moon will be, of course, in Libra, sitting in the Saturn decan of the 12th house, and please check where this moon will be transiting according to your time, according to your location, as obviously that could change. But in this area of where I live, and that's where I look at the moon and I plot my transits, it will be traveling through the 12th house. And this is a very auspicious house for Libra to be traveling through, and she has to struggle a little bit more for her Venus to shine through when it's in the 12th and bring about her diplomacy and her Venetian ways. And so we see the depositor of this moon sitting in Taurus at 2 degrees in the decan of Mercury where it is speaking. So where we have the decan of Saturn, which will be a more restrictive energy, a more contained energy, and ask for us to put our relationships, Venus, 7th house, cardinal air, where she is interested highly in partnerships and diplomacy, the moon that is, and a Libra is a yang cardinal expression here. So we have the yin and the yang, and the waxing and the waning, and the bright Venetian glow of Venus, all hiding out there in the 12th house where there is an ask. And we will get to that in a moment. I know that the skies are very challenging. I am aware of what's going on out there with the rest of you. And navigating this time of life is not going to be easy. We are now in the middle of the storm here, the eye of the storm, I would say, where it's about to get really crazy. And I am not a fearmonger type of podcaster, communicator. I don't believe in that. I believe that we are here for such a time as this, that your chart is lined up for such a time as this, that there is a reason and a purpose and a plan. The fact that I can't explain who's running all that and put a name to it does not negate my ardent search for truth, balance, and harmony in my own life, with my own chart, and my own karmic growth patterns, that I have seen that which is without, the universe, God, spirit, whatever you want to call that, okay? I have seen that work very personally in my life too many times to deny that there is a rhyme and a rhythm that is going on with my chart and this space in time. I have to tell you that it has taken everything for me to do this recording today. The energy is absolutely ramped up, and as an empath, a born psychic, a heavy water chart, operating in the realms of sensing and feeling, I am discerning a lot of relational tension and growth. Obviously, we're all seeing this in the outer sky, but let's make this more personal. There's an ask of us here with this T-square from the moon to the sun to Jupiter that is forming a relational tension here and is going to allow for some positive communication. But first we must focus on partnership. And this is what the April 1st new the April 1st full moon is trying to communicate with us. The 1st or the 2nd is when this full moon will occur, depending on where you live. But of course, for us tonight, it's at 10:12 p.m. Please put your water out there. As soon as that sky starts to get dark, go on and put your water out there and get it filled with this relational, powerful moon that is trying to bring some balance into our lives in the midst of outward tension. This martial energy, this Aries stellium that is building over there, we're seeing it at the opening of this sky in April, and we will see Mars and we will see Mercury. We will see all these planets ingressing there, and it's going to be known as a super stellium with packed planets inside of Aries is not easy energy. I'm going to run down these transits for you, and you can see them in front of you. Take note of this through the month. If you have a calendar, it's a great time just to jot down these power words I'm using here so that you can understand the energy of that day and then take it into consideration with your own chart. This is where the magic happens in your solar return, in your progress chart, in your transit charts. We can see how this energy is trying to communicate a message of growth and expansion wherever it is hitting your chart, depending on that storyline. So April 1st, relational shift is occurring in partnership focus. April 2nd, Libra Full Moon Jupiter, which is of course occurring in the evening sky for us. So I bring it into the 1st and the 2nd, depending on where you live. This energy is sticking around for a few days. Yes, the moon moves quick. I understand that. But with everything going on in the outer sky and this opposition, this is going to have a magnetic attraction the entire month between Libra and Aries. And then, of course, we have the Aries new moon occurring on April 17th, where we'll see Chiron and Mercury all conjunct in there, opening us up to be a little vulnerable and to start some new beginnings. But first, let's back up. On the 3rd, we have Mercury trine Jupiter. This will be positive communication. This will allow for an opening of that T-square to begin to communicate what needs to be said in your relationships. Remember, yes, the moon is tied to the outer generational shifts, of course, but the moon is very personal. The moon wants to deal with our deep, instinctual, automatic behaviors that just go off without even thinking. When you think of this instinctual nature, I want you to think of the moon like an animal, and how an animal, if it's wounded, chased, bitten, harmed, right? It goes and it wants to protect itself. And it will try to hide, and if it can't fight back, right? So we have this idea of this, reaction without thinking, where it just knows it needs to go and protect itself. It can't beat its enemy. It knows that it's been outmatched. Like there's an instinctual understanding of knowing what to do and when to do it with animals. Animals, of course, don't talk, wink, wink. Some say they do, but that's a whole world that our modern science framework won't allow us to investigate here on this podcast right now with what I'm saying. But we really do have this understanding here with the moon. I want you to get this. It's what you do without thinking. It's how you behave instinctually without even knowing you're doing it. And so this is where we have all these other planets around us supporting the moon, depending on where they're at, where they're communicating a story of that to you, and how you need to, and how I need to, and how the world needs to consider the archetype of Libra at this time. Very important to see Libra. I'm going to bring in the tarot card here think it's really important to look at the deeper symbolism of Libra this month. I felt prompted to go pretty heavy in on Libra diplomacy. I sense that with everything going on in our lives and the outer skies of war, which are clearly here, that it's really changing a lot of relationships, obviously, just with work and the outer world and the structures that we're going to see changed through this war and the limitation of oil and the blocking of the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to see a huge trickle down effect. And this will ultimately impact all relationships. So I think that this moon came out at the get-go on April 1st to say, look, there's a preparation that's coming and needed for you when we see all these energies go hard into Aries, because these energies that we are going to see with the aspects that they are making are not going to be easy. We have on April 4th, Venus square Pluto, intense passion. Very, very difficult aspect. Sun square Jupiter, April 6th. This is this dramatic exaggeration that can come out where there's too much power, too much bigness, too much ego, too much of the sun. And boy, have we seen this. My goodness. We're going to see more. Mid-April, the Aries stellium in martial energy really kicks off from the 8th through the 20th. These are the most challenging days of the month. And I would have to say, after looking deep into this, of the year. This is April 8th. Mars is sextiling Uranus, bringing us this innovative drive. On the 9th, Mars enters Aries. This is going to bring some dynamic momentum movement. Check your Aries. Mars, where is this hitting your chart? You've got some power here to move out in some ways that perhaps these heavy yin, water, earth energies have been holding you. I had talked about this for quite some time, how we are going to see a speeding up when all of these outer energies hit fire and air, and here we are. It occurs this month, and Aries is ramping us up for the 26th of April when Uranus goes into Gemini, the last outer planet to go into air, where it will remain for 7 years. And I did a video on that. Please check my playlist under transits if you want to see a deeper dive on that. But this is huge. Your Uranus will move from its position into a new house, into a new place in your chart, more than likely, if using the tropical whole house system. You are going to see Uranus move, and it's going to speak a message, especially at the very beginning degrees. The 0001 ingress that we experience is going to bring about sudden shifts in new communication. These relational surprises, power struggles, intellectual revolution, mental overextension, and a deepened attraction to what really matters. These are all of the themes that will be occurring as these planets are moving quickly. Nothing is in retrograde. I need you to see this, except for the nodes here. And very, very important at the opening of the month to see all of the forward moving planets. This is bringing about a lot of dynamic momentum energy. On April 8th, Mars sextile Uranus. April 9th, Mars enters Aries. April 13th, Mars conjunct Neptune. This is going to bring some inspiration to you and fire some things up where perhaps you haven't been willing to dream. You haven't been willing to look outside of this Saturn-heavy box that we are sitting in, with Aries trying to push out and Saturn restraining, and there's just a lot of tension here. On April 15th, Mercury enters Aries. We will see some speech come out. It will be very forceful, very bold, more than likely having to deal with our daily lives and structures. Yes, structures and how we lay things down on earth are being shooken up. Definitely. April 16th, Mars sextiles Pluto, bringing a really potent power surge here. Mars and Pluto working together is, think about this, friends. Mars and Pluto, Plutonian power, Mars explosion, bold expansion of energy. April 17th, our new moon. Some vulnerable beginnings here, and we'll look at that more closer when we get to the 17th. April 20th, the sun enters Taurus. It's going to try to bring us down to some grounding energy. And we will see more than likely here, Uranus brings surprises, shock, awe, sudden hits of high intellectual, powerful energy. And when we have Mars conjunct Saturn on the 20th there, mixed with this Venus conjunct Uranus, relational surprises, wow, the sky will be speaking very clearly to you from the 24th to the 28th. Really check your aspects. There will be some sudden shifts with this communication. On the 25th, when we have 8 hours before this Uranian ingress into Gemini, we have the sun squaring Pluto. And this is going to be very challenging energy. With Uranus entering Gemini, bringing intellectual revolution, it's like, hey, where is my personal sun, my power, my earth of Taurus, my money, my values, my partnerships, that which I love, that which I connect to? What needs to change? Where does the communication need to open up? Where do we need to have a meeting of the minds? And where, April 26th, Mercury squares Jupiter, where am I overextending all my mental faculties? Where I'm burning myself out? Mercury squares to Jupiter are not easy. This is Mercury here, ruling Gemini and Virgo, communication and practical lifestyle, health, and service to others, where we pay back some of our karma there in the 6th house of service to others. On the 28th, we see Venus trining Pluto. This is harmonious, bringing about, look, where do I need to focus my money? Where do I need to look at where this transformation has been happening? And the shedding of the skins of how I do money, how I see money, how I work with money. All of this is under the radar in the month of April. I want to bring out something that happened here. There was an AI video on March 25th, and some thought it was a state, country-sponsored kind of thing. And I don't believe it was. It was just an AI company out of Iran linked to that country. And it depicted a missile strike on a, darkened Statue of Liberty being replaced by a horned bull god of Baal. And in mundane astrology, this is the literal manifestation of the Sun Saturn transit, where we see the light of Mother Liberty, of the Statue of Liberty, right? Eclipsed here by the Lord of Karma in ancient shadows. Listen, this is a psychological projection in this video of Mars Rahu, right? Gripping our collective right now and saying, hey, America, this missile is going straight towards how we see you as a nation of despots worshiping this Baal under the black magic and the occultic lower vibration shadow of the Baal that Iranians seem to think America is under. And boy, that is a whole nother conversation and video about the lineage of the United States of America behind the story that we've been pitched about its links to Luciferianism, the Masonic Order, the Illuminati, the royal bloodlines, all of this crazy stuff. But if you haven't seen that video, I got to tell you, it's not for the faint of heart. This is Mars Rahu. They are not kidding around. So I just want to let you know that there is a crisis in diplomacy, obviously, in our world. I don't need to tell you that. But we need to know that if you operate in any of the spiritual areas of life, the spiritual paths, the spiritual lanes, that none of this is random. There is some kind of watchmaker, clock keeper that is speaking a storyline between nations and a deeper storyline of the United States of America and where she is headed. And I encourage you to take a look, if you haven't, at the progress chart of the United States and the progress chart of Iran. And that video isn't going into this right now. But I want to encourage you, take a look at what's happening. It is definitely speaking a story of conflict and change. And there are a lot of astrologers out there saying that they know the way, they know the end story, and they're putting their projections out there. And I just encourage you, as you listen and you study, you know the way. You know the way. And I know that maybe you don't think you know that, but I want to share with you, if you sit and you be still and you take the time to discover yourself in a balanced, harmonic way in your relationships to others, because that is really where we show up, is in our relationships with others, okay? And how you treat others, how you speak to others, what you say and what you don't say, where you know you should go out and take that step, but you don't, and you pull back. And all of that is an instinctual way of how you relate with your diplomatic moon instinctual energies. And with that, I want to close with talking about Libra really strongly here and what she's trying to speak with this full moon. I felt very prompted to do this section of the video in the podcast. I thank you for just joining me again and your patience as I try to share and unwrap what I'm seeing come about within the world that I live in the study of astrology. If you look at the quadrants of this chart, there are 4 quadrants that the chart speaks to, and it's quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. And quadrant 2 is houses 4, 5, and 6. And that quadrant is the quadrant of our personal expression. How am I coming out from my roots, the I see, through my ego expression, what I love, what I do, who I am, my creativity, my pleasures, who I choose to love, who I choose to be with, in my innermost heart, that I then go out into the world a little bit in the 6th there, prepping for that 7th, but I begin to serve. I begin to move out of myself, which moves us into that next quadrant, which is 7 through 9, which is our social identity and how we come out from that lower section of the chart into the world. This is the angular house of home, the succedent supportive house of Leo, the cadent house of Virgo, health, work, and service, to the angular house of committed relationships, partnerships, Libra. Here we go. And what do we have in that house in this chart? We have Taurus. What is Taurus? Our money. Our money, 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 money. Ruling the second house is Taurus. But in this chart, we have Sagittarius with Black Moon Lilith at 17 degrees in the decan of the moon. She is sitting from the 2nd to the 7th in a disharmonic degree. She does not understand from the 2nd to the 7th as well how to put her personal energy, the second house of Earth, out in relationships with others. So a lot of your tension at this time might be with money, might be with partnerships and money, might be with where do I put my money? Do I move my money? Do I keep it where it's at? How do I even try to save money with what's going on? Like all of this, if you're feeling this, ties in with this diplomatic moon at 12 degrees in the Saturn decan, asking for the opposite sun, right? In the decan of the sun in Aries. Oh my goodness, this is some bold, potent energy, guys. This is, where is my personal ego, fire energies, Aries I am, needing to put down its structures in my deepest internal instinctual nature way of acting with others. And it's impacting my personal expression and my social identity. Yes, this is what's being highlighted in this chart. And as we even move forward through the month, we can see it becomes even more important in the 6th and the 7th house, which houses of family to houses of relationships. We're headed to houses spirituality, 10 through 12, but we've got a way to go before our world is going to advance and see those fuller themes, okay? Very important to see this. So let's jump into a Libra moon and what this means. I am reading this portion from the calendar that I get every year, which is the Llewellyn monthly astrological calendar. And she's got all kinds of goodies in there. And I just encourage you, if you're a newbie to astrology, this is a great way to use a calendar with the understanding of astrology and grow. So here we go. What does she have to say about the Libra energy? Libra is the second. Libra is the second of the Venus-ruled signs. But here is where the moon leaves her fondness for the comfort of material things behind and turns her attention instead to the company and comfort of her partner. Okay, this is huge. We have to understand Libra in partnerships in the 7th, Venus, is not the same as Venus in the 2nd house. When Venus moves into the 7th house of expression, here it's like, hey, where can my magnetic energy go out and connect with others to bring support to my earth and my money? She's dressed in Venetian pastels, perfectly equipped to attract whomever she likes, wherever she likes, and not at all in the mood to do anything alone. At this time, relationships, partnerships, and shared experiences with someone else become quite important. Since Libra's job is restoring balance to off-kilter situations, however, you may find yourself involved with relationships that are emotionally unbalanced, that require a tap of the scales to set them right. And now we see this, guys, because we have the opposite, of course, is always a polarity. 180 degrees, you're facing each other, and it's like, look, something has to budge. You've got to come together. There is a passional attraction of your fire Aries Mars expression with the cool, calm, collective air energy of a highly diplomatic and intellectual Libra moon. Now's when we're all capable of that. Fortunately, and quite able to see exactly what it will take to smooth things out and keep life on an even keel. In general, this is a social, polite, friendly time when others will extend themselves, be cooperative, and agree more easily to compromise. Okay, so I say to this, well, no, it's not an easy time, right? It's like, what are you talking about? This is insane land out there. I see it. I'm keeping my center as best as I can every day, doing my daily positive movements. And when it gets too overwhelming, going to my tools and getting back into that meditative state where I know that I am not in full control, guys. You are not in full control. There is an ether, there is an other, there is an outside of us that is moving things forward in some type of evolutionary expansive energy carrying us. And that is energy that we cannot control. So Venus here says control what you can control. Do with what you can do in your relationships and try to make them as balanced as possible. Do what you can do with what you have. Libra is most famous for its love of people, can be friendly, cooperative, and too compromising. Yes, Libra moons prompt us to make our surroundings beautiful, or to put ourselves in situations where beauty is all around us. So it's asking you in this dark 12th house where you're kind of hidden out in a retreat, in a secluded area and being held there. How can you make your space beautiful? How can you take this darkness that the moon is being placed in, and how can you elevate it up and out to a high Neptunian, who rules this house originally, space of I dream, I believe, I know something's bigger, I know something better is coming. I know that this isn't all about me, that there's some kind of connection and partnerships that I'm being called to do that will help me work through this time and walk through this energy that we find ourselves in. Go to places of beauty with this moon this month. Go to places that bring you into a place that you feel you can have some kind of calm, because moon opposite sun is not easy energy. Marriage, relationships, unions with identity, image, self, and the house of spirituality, solitude, and self-reflection. This is huge. When you have a Saturn decan, it's calling you, Moon in Libra, to be pragmatic, to have common sense, to have a strong sense here of some type of moral duty and obligation. Yes, Saturn wants this, to have your moon, while this is going on, in a dignified manner. Moon is yin. Moon is nurturing, intuitive, feeling, and directs our energy inward. So We're trying to look at some karmic ties in the 12th house, definitely. Past life, accrued karma. Yes, accrued karma in our relationships, in the way that we do our one-on-one. This is what this moon is asking of us this month. And it's under the microscope the entire month because it sets off our month totally as the number one, right? The first of the month, highly important. Coming out at that time, full moons bring this culmination of energy. They celebrate a high tide. Emotions are running high. Subconscious runs the show. We're being asked to acknowledge and integrate these feelings all month long. There's a swell of harmonious energy that is coming as we move towards this new moon in Aries, where our I am is working through something until the new moon hits. So these next 2 weeks are really important. I cannot overemphasize this enough. With all of the stellium jam-packed up there in Aries, there is an ask here. If we've been suppressing how we feel and not honoring our inner nature in diplomacy and relationships, be aware here that something is being asked to release. There's an extra swell, with Aries opposite, of emotional energy. And it's a powerful time tonight at 12 p.m. to make a presentation of release out into the world through a ritual. You know, what is it that right now, Great Spirit and your conscious, your intuitive nature, the gods, the guides, the goddesses, all that works with you is speaking to you about something right now? I want to encourage you. There is power here with this moon to release old patterns that perhaps you've been experiencing, because a full moon is an area where you can see brightly. Everything is in front of you. And a person is really willing to tackle the tough issues when the moon is full. And you can handle head-on conflict. And you can be fierce, and you can be very debatative. I don't even know if that's a word, but it came out. You're a debater with the moon in Libra, okay? You want to make your point here strong, your instinctual point, so be careful. Help your mind and your emotions. This is what's going on in Libra, to balance out here in a more harmonious way. You know, our attention shifts from work to relationships in a sense of aesthetics with this moon. But she can be sociable to a harmful point, too flirtatious, too accommodating, too pleasant. This is Libra. Too interpersonally aware, always concerned about relationships and the other person. You know, and our relationship expectations can really crank it up here with Libra. And if you feel that people are not being available to you, like, why aren't these people connecting with me? This is a time to, I tell you what, go in your shadow space and speak to those areas of your life and wait for the answer of, is this a time that you really feel you should use your Aries I am energy, you know, that passional aggression there, and say, I need to have a conversation with you. Remember, though, etiquette, kindness. Libra's very gentle energy, you know, with Venus there. Open to debate and not confrontation. So be careful with confronting. It's not a good time to really blast someone with your list. And in the 6th house, Libra, opposite that sun, will have a list. Boy, do we know Virgos can do lists, and they can have all kinds of imperfections that are being pointed out at this time. And the deeper story of Chiron there is definitely illuminating this to us. What do you want to watch out for in this Libra moon? What does she have a tendency to do here? She can be indecisive. She loans us this ability to be able to see both sides, okay? And the positive and the negative, which is wonderful when we want to be open to possibility. But even simple decisions like, which color of shirt should I buy? What color of candle should I put in this corner of my room? Like, she can go too deep and too hard on that, all right? She can have codependent behavior in this moon. This is all the things she's highlighting with it in the house of the 12th house of our deepest subconscious being held by Saturn there, opposite Saturn. Woo! Okay, where have you perhaps been too hard on other people, and where have you avoided conflict, right? Where you've just not wanting to deal with it. We do want everyone to get along peacefully with the Libra moon, but it's not that way sometimes. And there could be uncomfortable confrontation coming to you from other people, and a sharp temper. Yes, Aries is known for its sharp temper. So try to clarify. This is what Libra wants, the balance of this side and that side to avoid any conflicts. You can have relationship obsession with Libra moons, and we can forget to work and socialize with our energy. Like, we can forget that, it takes a little work in relationships, and we can forget that there needs to be some give and some take. And you can go all too deep, all too fast, where like you meet someone and within days, like they know everything about you and you're just obsessed with this person. You have to be careful with this because obsessions, tend to blind us, and we don't see clearly when we're in this wild abandonment sometimes. And it is in the house that Neptune rules, and Neptune is in Aries conjunct the Sun, conjunct Saturn. Hurt feelings. This is dealing with hurt feelings this moon. We can be taken by surprise by someone because we're feeling maybe really open and really expansive and wanting to reach out, and the other person could be snarky and not nice to you and say something that's like, whoa, I didn't expect that. If that's true, you have to weigh whether you want to carry this relationship forward with this person. It's definitely asking you to look at your relationships in a very, very deep way with this moon. This is the whole month of April here being highlighted. I want to read from chapter 15 on Justice card, moving to the Tarot card quickly, on Living the Kabbalistic Tarot by Amber Jainati, applying an ancient oracle to the challenges of modern life. I love this book. And under the Justice card, general information and symbolism, I read. And see the Justice card in front of you there, out of the Smith-Waite Tarot. A sighted justice bears a raised sword in her right hand and scales in her left, suggesting that discerning the sword, individuals examine and balance the scale, their mental and emotional prejudices, mind and emotions, in order to achieve the wisest application of cosmic law or justice. Maturity brings the ability to weigh, measure, and critically analyze circumstances and their potential consequences before acting. Inherent in this concept is one having the faith that whatever results follow are relative to what an individual needs to learn and grow. I think this is important here because we see in the Eastern Standard Sky of Lynchburg, Virginia, that moon is in Neptune's domain. And Neptune's domain is the dreamer, the high potential, the possibility of what an individual can become. And here with Libra, it's saying, where do you need to grow in your relational balances? Obviously, the United States needs to take this heed as we are in some deep warlike conflict with others. I continue. Now, I think I hear you saying, what about poverty, racism, sexism, war, AIDS, accidents, natural disasters, and tyrannical governments that wipe out hundreds, sometimes thousands, and other such things? The uplifted sword shows the necessity of doing your best to act to eliminate these things when and wherever possible. It is hard to stop an earthquake, but you can be prepared for it, or be of the persuasion that catastrophic events and social and political restrictions are opportunities for you and me to step up and be our best selves by developing, using, and perfecting our spiritual skills in everyday situations. The sword's handle underscores this fact. It is shaped like a T, shorthand for Saturn, the planet linked with freedom through the mastery of physical restrictions and limitations. Okay, I direct you back here to this T square with the T in the card. And where is the moon? The moon is in Saturn. And where is the focal point of this T square? Jupiter in Cancer, in Mercury, air, Gemini, and Earth, Virgo. And the 9th squares the 12th, and the 9th squares the 6th. 6 is in opposition to the 12th. And this is ouch, 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 acerbatic, stressful. Squares are in the operation energy line of Mars. This is not easy. I continue. In the midst of intervening, it is helpful to recall the understanding gleaned from the Wheel of Fortune. You can't always understand the whys of everything and must trust in the ultimate harmony and equanimity of the universe. Pain in time impels you to locate the appropriate tools and intervention strategies to meet the challenges at hand. Having compassion for inequality, misery, affliction, brutality, and deprivation, as well as personal experience with such things, encourages you to look more deeply into people and events. Because justice bears the sword of righteousness, the card communicates the moral imperative of performing acts of kindness and compassion, what Kabbalists call mitzvahs, whenever possible. Here it is of the utmost importance to remember that whether one is called to be gentle or harsh, the loving motivation behind each act is the same. This can be seen in the workings of Gabora, the 5th Sephirah on the Tree of Life, called both justice and severity. The activities of this sphere function like a gardener who is obligated to caringly, yet at times forcefully weed out whatever threat the garden's health is seeing. Okay, so we see a need here with Saturn. We see a restriction here of the sun and the moon being asked, hey, where's your equanimity and diplomacy? I continue. Justice extends her foot, showing that she's ready to act. The figure of justice may be linked to the Celtic goddess of the land who acts to lawfully protect its inhabitants. This assures us that whatever group or individual does not respect the law or enacts laws for a country that are not aimed for the well-being of all becomes responsible for the demise of its people and environment. Consequently, they subject themselves to the wrathful signs of this goddess, the fall of the Soviet Union, and the demise of the pro-apartheid South African government, and the United States' initiation of warfare in Vietnam and Iraq demonstrate these principles at work. It is not surprising that the work and action are the Kabbalistic functions assigned to the Justice card. That work in action, Justice's crown refers to Kether, the crown, the highest or most perfect state on the tree of life. This implies that the Justice card acted out in everyday world is related to the divine justice represented by this card. This principle is symbolized by both the square representing the physical world in the center of the crown and the small circle representing the spiritual world within it. In the greater scheme of things, everything does fit together. These ideas are re-emphasized by how justice and her throne replicate the tree of life in its pillars. On the tree of life, the Justice card spans the pathway between Geburah and beauty, Tiphereth, a reminder that although the workings of true justice may appear harsh, they are loving at heart. Justice wears a red robe draped with a green cape, colors associated with the Empress and Emperor, respectively. Much as the Empress and Emperor's characteristics act to complement one another, red and green complement one another by combining to make gray, the color associated with wisdom and neutrality. This combining further suggests how by desiring to dress and address our daily experiences with courage and creativity, we become wise. Justice link with action calls to the mind's cards Rajasic, which is Rajasic, stimulating and activating alchemical processes. Sublimation. Rooted in the word sublime, sublimation means acting to elevate, and refine an impulse or instinct. In this state, evolution and the impersonal impetus to do what is truly just, that which is based upon the universal and natural laws, truth and principles, serves to sublimate one's actions. The color of the Justice card is green, therefore. Its musical note is F sharp, as in that of the Empress card Venus, and its herb is plantain. The Hebrew name for the Justice card is Lamed, Lamed, which as a noun means ox goad, the implement used to keep an ox. Remember, the soul or fool is Aleph, the ox, on its path. Lamed may also be used as a verb signifying to educate. The fruits of your actions are aimed to keep you awake and aware, as falling asleep on your feet tends to bring some type of pain that motivates, educates, and ultimately goads you back onto the track to living more responsibly and harmoniously with the teachings of the universal truth. Buddhist practitioners call this living the Dharma, or according to the teachings of the Buddha. Justice is linked to the cardinal initiating and of foremost importance air sign Libra. Libra governs the kidneys. Therefore, she deals with waste, adrenal glands, and lower back area. The liberal personality says, I balance, equilibrate, adjust, agree, idealize, and harmonize. Ruled by the planet Venus, Libra's desires fairness, harmony, especially in the area of relationships. Or, as a Libra friend once joked, balance and harmony at any cost. See here, and I want to stop, is where, let me share, this comes out really strong to me, and I feel prompted to share, so I shall. Libras, watch your relationships. Balance and harmony at all costs at this time. Where are you overextending? Where are you underextending? Where are you not watching your boundaries? Where are you not putting up boundaries? I continue. This attitude tends to ignore the fact that imbalances, which may be perceived as the down cycles of the wheel of life, are necessary in achieving a more stable balance. As in most instances, conflicts and disequilibrium facilitate deeper understanding with time. Evolved Librians observe that justice is faithfully served. All is ultimately beneficial to the development of higher consciousness, even if the initial outcomes does not meet with their personal desires or ideals. This is communicated by Justice's sight-handedness, showing that she can see through illusion. This type of the personality aligns its sense of justice with the higher truths rather than with what the mass mind dictates. Simply, these people trust that the laws of the universe work for, not against them. Now, I have Libra in the 12th house natally as a Scorpio ascendant. So this chart of the Libra moon fits perfectly. In fact, I have a 13 degree in the way that you put certain charts. You know, you can have different house styles, but in the tropical zodiac, 13 degrees. So, boy, is this moon speaking to me very clearly. And I definitely have experienced, equilibrium and balance in relationships this lifetime. Now it's 62, second Saturn return. My goodness, no, I've got that crap together. I've sorted out those relationships and gotten them. I've done my shadow work. I've done that Saturn work. I've been held there and did those years where I really went in and with the help of my masters and my guides and my Reiki master and my mindfulness master, very grateful for Melissa Crowhurst and for Kane Ramsey for just their teachings and that which has laid such a good foundation. And then, of course, my education in the various colleges I attended and then my PhD work, Kingdom College of Natural Health. It has been an incredible journey of diplomatically balancing my energies. So on the tarot card here, keywords: accountability, fairness, integrity, justice, legal matters. I want to bring this in, not been brought up yet, but legal matters come in. It could be that at this time some things that have been done in secret are coming to the light. Some ways that people have been manipulated with money behind the scenes in diplomatic relationships, of how it's brought security to nations. Boy, do we see that. So justice being a card of balance, fairness, and logical consequences. It's going to represent where there is a need of honest, fair, objective dealings and alignment with your values. Very, very important. What are the associations? Well, it's a Major Arcana card here, and there are 22 of these powerful cards which carry their own unique symbolism. But when we go into a Major Arcana card, we're looking at profound life changes and themes and transformational journeys. It reduces to a 2, which represents the dance of opposites, capturing the essence of balance and partnership, encourages us to find harmony, and appreciating the delicate balance in all things. We have air element of thoughts and ideas being carried out on the wind. It invites us to move out of emotional, unrational spaces into the realm of intellectual exploration. It's going to be a delicate dance of our mental faculties, an intricate tapestry of communication. So again, that crown symbolizing authority, achievement, inner sovereignty. You know, embrace your power, recognize your worth. We have the high priestess connected here with the pillars. The empress connected here with creativity, abundance, nature, nurturing, sensuality, fertility. The emperor with his pillows of personal power, stability. The Hierophant, teaching, tradition, cultural conformity. The chariot with the two side pillars of self-discipline, determination, victory. Alignment, and where should we move out? To the Justice card of accountability and fairness. These pillars are very important to see in these cards. It symbolizes strength, stability, and support. So, what is representing right now in your relationships, in your diplomatic expressions? Fairness. And where you perhaps need to build more of a foundation in your life. She's sitting at a bench, symbolizing rest and contemplation, suggesting that, hey, let's take a moment here. Let's pause and look before we move out, before we speak, before we post, before we take everything inside of us that may be unbalanced, and you know, we don't go to the shadow first, we don't go to meditation or whatever tool, like we just go out there. Okay? The sword of justice will find you if we operate in such ways of impetuousness. Aries opposite moon would do this. This intellectual truth, cutting through illusions, is fierce. This sword is active. And the mental prowess that it's going to take to navigate these days where the sword is being swung will not be easy. The two is the double magician, one and one put together. This gives you double focus, double creative power, communication, resourcefulness, an ability to move out in your action. Remember, her foot is poking out there. She's getting ready to rise, getting ready to move. With that scale symbolizing where do we need balance and justice and fairness. You know, what do you need to take off? What do you need to put on? The veil of red symbolizes mystery and concealment, kind of the hidden aspects of reality. Asking us, peel back those layers, peel back what's underneath, look with your intuition, go down into the inner voice, the subconscious receptivity, where it's silent, where your true passion sits in your action, in your vitality. That's inviting you with courage to come out. So in closing, I'm going to speak to that Chiron opposite this moon. And Chiron is the wounded healer, of course. And I've talked quite a bit about him. And where he had wounds that were of such a nature they would never heal, and he needed the help of Prometheus. So I encourage you to look into that whole story. But I just want to take a moment to dive into Aries and Chiron in Aries, in understanding this placement in Aries opposite this moon. And of course, Aries is a cardinal fire, where Libra is cardinal air. So we have active energies that are moving. These energies are not sitting. Okay, they're very, very active. And Aries deals with the first house. He's not in the first house, but we have to put this coat and this cloak over this space. The actor Aries showing up, the actor Chiron showing up in the costume of Aries is our body wounds, our personality wounds, our I am voice wounds, traits that we possess that are most noticeable and apparent to the outside world. Our temperament, our leadership style, our ego, the way we take initiative or the way we don't take initiative. With it in the 6th house, we bring in now Mercury. We bring in the Lord, which is traveling right now in Pisces, getting ready very quickly to move into Aries. This high Piscean energy of the outer world, where the moon is sitting in Pisces house, in Mars, they're doing something here. They're moving, they're motivating, they're shifting. All of this outer tension is helping us to change and to shift our professional work, our daily routines, our service to others, our exercise and fitness, diet, physical health, disease, where we worry, where the worrywart sits, where our gut gets all messed up, where our intestines and our digestion of moving our processes of life, digestion, breaking everything down so it becomes useful, cleaning it up, the Virgin rules, this sixth house where Aries is sitting. And it's saying, Aries, what do you need to clean up? What do you need to intellectually speak about that you are in conflict with, that you're not seeing? Now, this first house Aries energy is asking you to consider some questions here. Have you censored or limited your expression of self, identity, or personality? How have you done this and it's affected your health? It's affected your daily life. It's affected your logical reasonings. Are you able to set limits with yourself and others when needed? Can you set clear boundaries? Can you have a sense of where should I invest my energy and where should I pull it back? Chiron in Aries does not feel like it has a right to exist. This is a wounding of the root chakra, safety versus trusting, trusting self versus trusting others, self-assurance, self-esteem, our root, deep, visceral energies that are divinely loved as is, as you are, right as you are, all the blemishes, all the problems, all the fat, all the things that you see about yourself that you don't love, all the maybe being too thin, all of maybe your hair not being the way you want it, all of not having your bank account the way you want it, all of not having your job the way you, listen, all these problems that we point out and see and point out. I want you to know you are loved as you are, divinely. Aries needs to hear this. Aries and Chiron needs to hear this. Aries opposite Libra needs to hear this. The first house is where we enter the world. So it's how we came in this world and some of the karma we're having to clear out in our physical bodies, where perhaps we've been overly self-sufficient and where we felt like other people don't have a right to exist and we just want to chop them out of life. And where Chiron healed here would feel loved and worthy and feel like it has a right to exist. And it would put its sword in its sheath until needed. Coming from the book, The Chiron Effect, Healing Our Core Wounds Through Astrology, Empathy, and Self-Forgiveness by Lisa Taher. I did not write this book. This is not my information. I want to share page 93 on Chiron. Chiron entered the sign of Aries on April 17th, 2018, and will spend about 8 years here. Historically, when Chiron occupied the sign of Aries, changes and laws were initiated pertaining to human rights, personal freedoms, and social change. Chiron in Aries is asking and talking about action breaking free. Chiron in Aries brought sexual revolution during the Roaring '20s and during the times of Prohibition. And we all know that prohibition really means no inhibition. Homosexuality was decriminalized in East Germany in 1968 and West Germany in 69 with Mexico. Guatemala, Japan, and some states in the United States followed suit. The groundbreaking Stonewall riots occurred in 69 in Manhattan, and the first LGBT Pride Parade occurred in New York and New York City in 1970. In 72, Watergate scandal broke, and in 74, our president resigned from the office. All of these events, and even more seminal ones, occurred internationally under the powerful influence of Chiron and Aries, which encourages us to take action, to speak our voice, to stand up for our rights, and to be authentically who we are. How does Chiron and Aries affect you as an individual? With Chiron and Aries, your relentless search for a stable and strong identity drives your life experience. At the same time, the psychoastrology of Chiron and Aries creates a concurrent and conflicting emotional experience wherein you may feel as if you already have an identity, but you invariably judge it to be weak. As a result, time and time again, you find yourself in situations where you minimize your own needs. In the worst case scenarios, your needs have been neglected by others. The episodic lack of attunement to your needs speaks to your self-diminishment and unresolved sense of value and worth. Because you have become so attuned to others and their needs, sometimes it may be hard for you to even know what you want. It may seem that you've lost your connection to yourself. It's as if your selfhood may have been eclipsed and you are invariably not seen, heard, or validated. This experience is disempowering to your self-confidence, and your ability to attract what you truly desire is obstructed. Instead of directly expressing your own needs and to protect yourself from the pain of being undervalued and treated dismissively, you employ coping mechanisms of compensation and adaptation. You run the risk of burnout in your profession, of being unhappy in your personal life. Remember, when Aries is in the first, it's opposite the seventh of Libra. So I hope you're seeing this X that's going across the two polarity points here, the first and the seventh, which is ascendant, descendant, and the 6th and the 12th. This is houses 1, 6, 7, 12, people. This is what we are talking about. Personal power, daily life, with others, in the deepest parts of my mind, heart, soul, recesses, intuitive nature. This occurs because of consistent people pleasing and putting the needs of others first. Overextending yourself is an ingrained habit you employ to keep conflict low. You feel that working to keep the peace in your family, group, or organization is a must. You feel exhausted and depleted as a result. You may suffer privately from feelings of isolation while simultaneously hoping that one day you will suddenly be seen, loved, and valued for the generous person that you really are. The psychological overlay of a wounded sense of self, coupled with the undervaluing of self, leads to a feeling of depression, isolation, and unworthiness, resulting in a sense of confusion about the path forward. So we don't understand this energy here because I think it's so yin and yang, you know, it's so the moon to the sun is not easy. You know, it's totally lighting up that sun for everything to be seen, right? Not an easy situation with this full moon. Often self-criticism in judgment of ourselves keep us stuck in unhealthy relationships or situations. We don't want to give up and move on, so we may stay and self-medicate instead. Pema Chodron describes this pattern as follows. Most of us do not take these situations as teachings. We automatically hate them. We run like crazy. We use all kinds of ways to escape. All addictions stem from this moment when we meet our edge and we just can't stand it. We feel we have to soften it, pat it with something, and we become addicted to whatever it is that seems to ease the pain. Instead, when we meet our edge, we can realize that we have a profound growth opportunity before us to just be with the experience, allowing the quality of what we're feeling to pierce us to the heart without reacting or repressing. Self-harming behaviors refine our sense of unimportance because after the fact, we stand in condemnatory judgment of ourselves. We may present a public image of having it all together, yet we may suffer privately. So the affirmations here with this Chiron and Venus and this whole stellium of I am for the month of Aries here, opposite initially that moon. I own my right to exist. Value lies within. I am enough and I am worthy. So thank you for spending this time with me again. It is appreciated. And I hope that you have found some value in what Spirit has guided me to share this month. And I appreciate you. I am sending white light, positive affirmations to all of you that are listening to this. And I am really grateful for Great Spirit and the messages of promise and peace that are coming at the end of this cycle. I want to encourage you, hold fast, stay true, keep to the daily positive movements, control the controllables, make sure you are eating right, sleeping right, spending time alone, spending time in meditation, minding the tools that are called to you, using your craft, and keeping your center space daily. This is the message that is loud and clear for April. May it be. May peace come to earth. May solutions be found. Blessed be.